Well, hey, Amy.
Oh, yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
This has been a long time coming.
Yeah,
right?
we're excited. We're excited. Finally, we made it.
Right. We've been talking about this for
almost a year.
Almost a year?
Almost a year next month.
Right.
Yeah. The backyard wasn't even done.
I know. It was a...
Remember sitting out there on the
just
stoop, like eating our food? East Coast
You're
catering.
like, this will be here, this will be here. And then I came back, what was it, August or September?
Okay, what wedding was the second?
It was the Asian American one.
Oh, yeah.
They had the live singer.
Yeah. Wow.
They
Kristen and David.
Yes, they
Kristen
live streamed it too.
Yeah.
Remember
So that was October? No, September.
It was warmish, I remember that.
And we planned that wedding, fun fact, in 12 weeks, less than 12 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. They came in June and said, I think we want to, originally they were going to get married this spring.
Okay.
Because David actually has to do a tour abroad. And I said, well, why don't you save yourself some tax dollars? My finance background. I'm like, why don't you save yourself some tax dollars and get married in 2021? And they were like, well, I don't know. You think we can? And I was like, do you trust me? They were like, yeah, I trust you. I was like, let's do this. And so we did it in 12 weeks. And it was fairly stress-free for them. I mean, there's always a little bit of stress for
Still,
people,
that shows your skills as a planner to do that in 12 weeks. That just sounds stressful talking about it right now.
Well, I think COVID changed the game.
Yeah.
You know, when people say, oh, how fast can you plan a wedding? And it used to be, a year or whatever. I joke, like, give me 2 weeks.
Give me 2 weeks, we gotta go.
Give me 2 weeks. We joke, but I mean, it's true. You only need a couple key people, particularly in our space, right? Like, we don't have to bring a lot in to make it epic.
You guys have most of the stuff
we have
yourself.
most of the stuff here.
Right.
So it cuts down a lot of the planning aspect,
Absolutely.
a lot of the nuances. And so, bring your DJ, your caterer, your bar,
you're good.
Photographer, obviously videographer.
Absolutely, always.
And you're good to go. So I think that's probably a big reason,
Absolutely.
honestly. So
Absolutely. Well, taking back, Amy, to the beginning, how did this, I know you have like a finance background. You were
Jack of all trades,
from
master at
California.
none. Just kidding.
No, you're
master it all.
Right, exactly. From California.
Yeah.
I guess take me back to the wee beginning. How did this whole wedding journey start for you?
So I got into industry 20 years in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2002.
2002.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, think pre-website.
Pre-website or like
no Pinterest, no Instagram. Facebook was the Facebook.
Yeah.
You had to have a college ID to get on.
So it was MySpace back then.
Yeah, and there was like 3 photos you could put on
like
Facebook.
If you were doing anything online, some people were like, "What are you doing? You're gonna
dial up.
You're gonna ruin your business."
AOL,
AIM. So the early starts of the internet. Basically.
Yeah, really from the beginning, and the market was just so different back then. You would have to go to a bridal show to find your vendors.
Yeah.
You had to go booth. And I grew up on the west side of Michigan in the Kalamazoo area and started back there. Honestly, I've been obsessed with weddings since I was like 7. Very young.
Yeah.
I mean, probably even earlier, like just, let me dress in my mom's wedding dress. And I used to get on my banana seat bike and I'd bike down to the local library the day Modern Bride came out, which is now Brides, I think is the magazine now. See, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And that magazine has gone through multiple factors and doesn't even exist. It's online. But I'd go get the newest, edition, and I read it from top to, front to back, like what's the newest trends, and I mean I'm like 11, and continued that obsession, I guess. It wasn't even that I wanted to get married; it's I loved weddings.
You love weddings, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I want to get married because I want a wedding," and I was just like, "I just like weddings. I like the process of planning." I'm a very linear person; things make sense in that world, and so.
That's crazy that it started so young for you.
So young, like very young.
What do you think opened that? What do you think, I think it's opened that realm for you?
Yeah, I think I love hospitality.
Okay.
I love people. I'm a very friendly human.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Bubbly personality. It's my school. What do you like? Your school's like senior awards. I think my bubbliest personality.
Most bubbliest
Shocker.
person.
Yes.
Amy counts.
Literally, it was. Won that one.
Are you serious?
I literally did.
Oh.
It was in high school. No, like the senior awards. Like I was bubbliest personality. That's literally what I got.
Absolutely. Okay.
It has been a theme through my life. But I love cooking. That's kind of my outlet. The big joke is, Amy, you should be a chef. And I always say, no, I actually like cooking and I want to keep that as my outlet, my creative outlet. It's my hobby. I don't want to make my hobby my job. And so I would literally, I was obsessed with American Girls, and like obsessed. And so I would plan full tea parties. I'm not joking. Like, I'm 9 years old baking a pie. Okay, that's how intense I am as a human. I should put it in context.
Wow.
And that my mother let me. I mean, thanks, Mom, for just
say,
like
let you
being like,
work the
yeah,
oven?
sure, like wield a knife at 9. I'm with my 3-year-old.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'm sure you'll be fine. You'll live. Yeah, you know. And so I would make these full-on spreads, like full meals, full desserts, handmade from scratch for like 10 girls of my girlfriends that all had all these American Girls. And we'd have these huge elaborate parties. It was like a whole thing. And it kind of gave me the bug from presentation. My mom has always been really good about table presentation.
I was gonna say, it's kind of come from your family.
Yeah, she like brings out her china and that type of thing for birthdays and holidays, and always has a very well set table. My grandmas were both exactly the same way. So I do think that the hospitality bug was more driven by watching the women in my life display those type of things. And I loved that, and I really hope to pass that on to my daughter. Kids, So there's nothing more inviting than being invited into someone's home and to sit at a beautifully prepared table with just really good food and having great conversation. And really, that's what a wedding is, right? And that's the whole idea of it. And so I think that just kind of translated through. And so when I was 19 years old, there was a woman at work. Like you said, I have quite the speckled background of all the things I do. But my world started at a hospital, actually, Ascension Health Hospital in Kalamazoo. Oh, wow. Yeah, and did HIPAA compliance and all the fun things. So we can talk health regulations and law. Love that.
So much fun.
Topic, so much fun. Actually, it weirdly is. It's definitive. But yeah, I did that for years. And there was a woman there at work, and she was so stressed out because her daughter got engaged. And she's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I was like, oh, okay, let me help you. I'm just like writing it all down. She's like, hey, can I hire you to be our wedding planner? And I was like, oh, well, let's talk about this.
And that
just
job.
Very first.
Okay.
And it was weird. Her daughter was later on, and I actually took 2 of them before that. And yeah, and it just kind of started from there. And I mean, it is embarrassing to think about the first weddings that I did because, oh gosh, so many
Everyone's
people.
first wedding
I
is
know,
super.
but so many people probably picked up like balls that had dropped that I thought I took care of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the education on it is just so important. But and that's why I tell everyone, like, don't go out on wedding planning on your own. Go work for someone.
Absolutely.
Learn the ropes.
Absolutely.
Like, learn from a veteran, and it'll make you so much better. But through the School of Hard Knocks, we got there. And honestly, did that for 6 or 7 years, always part-time. Because the world was different. It didn't pay the bills at that time. Wedding planning did not pay that much.
And it wasn't that big of a
It wasn't an industry.
Like a field, you know,
it wasn't a huge industry at that time. And so I ended up moving to California in 2008.
Okay.
Yep.
And
the crash.
Oh,
the ultimate crash.
What made you move out? Like, how that became
you know, the truth of it is I was single as Pringle, and you know, my friends were getting married, and I was just like, no, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so I moved to California.
Did you know anybody there?
I moved with one of my high school friends.
Okay.
She got a job with Teach for America, and so I lived in a house. There were 7 of us girls.
Nice.
Fun fact: we had to have a door. I know, right? So it was in El Segundo, like right or like Hermosa Beach, like right in the beach side of LA.
Okay.
And there was 7 of us girls that lived in a house. And the fun fact is that's actually a brothel
Right.
in the city ordinance. And so, I know, right? And we were like, what? They're teachers and an IT security tech. Like, this is so random. So they had to like put a lock, like an actual like lock on the door between the 2 kitchens so that it was like 2 separate units.
Wow.
Yeah, so that we like didn't break the rules.
That's
like,
so crazy.
Isn't that so funny?
That's
I know,
so
like
weird.
apparently 6 people, it's like a brothel. Who knew? But anyway, fun fact.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we lived there, and I worked remote still for the hospital back here in Michigan.
Okay.
And got kind of bored in the afternoon because I'm done at 2 o'clock in California. And so I actually worked for a gym, and that's the big joke of this is that I begged for that job. I've never had to beg for a job. Yeah. But my boss is like, you could literally do my job. Like, you're overqualified. I'm like, I don't care if I'm overqualified. I just want a really expensive free membership, and I just want to meet people. Yeah. And so I did, and that's kind of how I got to know a lot of people in LA, and a lot of connections that way. And I'm so grateful for that time there. It also kind of opened that that opportunity to interact, talk with people about the trends, the things that were changing and whatnot, and just being so far ahead of where we were at in Michigan.
That's where it starts. It's usually like LA,
yeah,
New York,
LA, New
like
York. That's kind of the mecca.
New hip stuff,
and they would let me like plan their parties and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is cool. And truthfully, I was like, I'm done with weddings. I'm not going to do this anymore. Brides are a little crazy, you know.
When was this?
And this is back when I first moved to LA in 08. And the market was just crashed. And it was not an industry I was like, I'm going to go start an event planning company in LA. It was just too big.
Yeah.
I probably would have worked for someone else, but I liked what I was doing. And so I joked like, oh, I'm retired. I'm no longer doing that.
Done.
You know, I'm done. And then fast forward, ended up moving to Santa Barbara. And a dear friend of mine in junior league was like, Amy, I'm getting married and I need you my wedding.
You just can't get out of it.
I can't, you know? And I was like, ugh. Because I'd already been doing all these events for junior league because, you know, I never stopped doing events. I just did them in a different capacity. Didn't do weddings.
You cut back.
Yeah, nonprofits, you know, corporate stuff, more of that world. And I was like, cool, this is great. I get my design bug out, but I don't have to like, you know, deal with someone for 18 months, you know, in the planning process. But Corey was like, Amy, you have to help me. Now, Corey's maiden name is Akron, so is mine, or her mother's is. So we are completely convinced we're cousins. We haven't like 100% validated that, but we call each other cousin. So she's like, you're my family, you have to do this. So I got the guilt trip. And so I was like, okay, Corey, I'll help you. So I do it. And I kind of get the bug again, and I'm like, dang it. Like, because Santa Barbara is just like, oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you. Like, it is the mecca.
So out there, what's the market like? It's warm like year round. So
year
like,
round. We deal with
really
a different, you don't deal with weather. We'll
yeah,
just say,
so like even a slow season, really?
Yes, weirdly the opposite of ours. So May through August.
It's scorching hot.
No, opposite. It's June gloom. Yeah.
Wait, what?
So
Run me through this.
California has this weird phenomenon where we will have, it's called an onshore wind. So the wind blows from the ocean and blows up onto land.
Okay.
And it actually blows all the fog back onto land. And so it's like you're living like this in gray all summer. So it's like, it's called like May gray, June gloom, and it just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
So our biggest season, our wedding season really doesn't start until August.
And goes to like,
And it goes all the way around the opposite way. Yeah, so it's kind of an opposite season.
Yeah.
And so I kind of start getting the bug. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do this. But the thing about Santa Barbara is I feel so blessed to have really like built a company there. And we still are there, and we're one of the bigger firms there. I have 12 girls and guys still on my team. It's really fun.
Beautiful.
But it's cutting edge. So it's like Santa Barbara is LA, but customized.
Yes.
So where LA is so fast paced, right? It's just constant. Santa Barbara takes it and does the hospitality aspect to design, where you just get all the new trends. You get all the newest stuff. Anything that's new in the events world, it's going to come and you get it right because you're sourcing from LA. So all of our rental companies, we source from LA. And so I was just always ahead of trend, always ahead of all of that. And that's where you really got the bug, because at the end of the day, I love design.
Yeah.
So here we are, I mean, with the space that we have, and
beautiful space.
Thank you.
A beautiful space.
Thank you.
What did it look like before you guys
thrashed?
did all this?
I mean,
pretty bad.
If you ask anybody in Chelsea, and they're like, the West Side Gym, and they walk in and they all go, whoa! I mean, it's like that different.
Really?
I mean, the floor's redone. I mean, nothing about this building is technically the same, except we kept I was really passionate about keeping certain things.
Okay.
The pillars with the old, the old brick.
Yes,
This wall over here is like my favorite wall because it's the 1930s tile. And so that was an argument my contractors and I had, and John. I was like, I just want you to gloss it. And he's like, Amy, it's not even insulated. And I was like, so I don't have to run air conditioning in the winter?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, weddings are hot.
Yeah.
And so they argued with me, and then I was like, just do it, and if it's terrible, I'll pay to have it changed.
Yeah.
And they did it, and they were like, oh, that looks really good. Like, we told you.
I told you.
And I mean, collaboration. But yeah, I mean, things like that, we try to protect that, but really the rest of it's all new. We try to make it look old. Oh, the beams, the black beams, those are the original beams.
Oh, wow.
We had to get some special, like, fire coating stuff on them, but I mean, we're really particular about keeping the history of the building. Otherwise, literally, it was down to the studs.
Yeah.
The entire building was down to the studs.
Wow.
It was built in the 1890s, so I mean, it was old,
It's
very old.
Yeah.
And then was a Pontiac dealership till 2002.
This was? Kind of small.
Yeah.
Kind of small for that.
You would think so. Well, they used to have their service station across the street. This was their showroom, and they used to store the cars in the ceiling. There was a conveyor belt, and all the cars were upstairs.
Huh.
Isn't that crazy?
They were living in the future at that point.
Pretty much. And it was funny when you look in our ceiling, when before we've closed it all up, they had the joists, and then they had these like the bracers, and they were like every 6 inches. And I had like an engineer tour one day, and he was like, "What did they do? Like put cars in that ceiling?" And I'm like, "That's exactly what they did." And he said, "I have never seen something so strong, like strongly built." And I was like, "Well, that is a good sign."
This building has some strong bones, some nice history,
bones,
you know.
Yeah. So we've got that structure, but we've just encased it with beauty. So. Yeah,
I love it here. Like I told you before, this is one of my favorite venues. Like the style of it is just so like modern and hip. Yeah. I personally love it. It's super bright. I guess let's talk about that. Style-wise, for like the beautiful Collins off Main, what would you describe it as?
Urban, chic, modern, all white.
All white.
Endless possibilities.
Absolutely.
I wanted to be able to attract a bride that, I mean, as we all know, that kind of California boho, effortless look that we know is actually not effortless. It actually takes a lot of work.
Takes a lot of
work. A lot of work and money to get there. Was what they all were looking at on Pinterest, and that's what they wanted. So I wanted to attract that bride because that's the one I'm most comfortable with and I'm very familiar with. Yeah. And then I also wanted a place where we could get really urban and that chic, that classy, timeless, black and white color scheme. And so we're attracting that bride as well. And so I always tell people, whether you're looking for a black tie event, which you could easily do in here.
Absolutely.
Or like your total like bohemian bride. Somehow it matches all of that.
I would say it's super adaptable here.
It is.
Like very, because I remember the wedding we did, the first one ever. So we were the first wedding here.
You were the very first wedding ever.
It was so funny. I walk in, you're like, "Hey, so just so you know, this is the first wedding we've ever done here."
Yep.
I was like, "Oh, no pressure."
No pressure. I love it so we kind of obviously switched things up, like where people's at originally used to be here, now you're here. But I remember when you were there and you set up your gig, and then you looked at me and you're like, and I was nervous. I'm just gonna admit, like, I mean, I'd put some sound into this building, but you have no idea until you like run a system. And you set it up, and I was like, and you're like, "Oh, good sound." I was like, yes, because I was so nervous. I was like, is it gonna sound bad? Is it gonna sound ridiculous? Is it gonna be too much? And so for you to be like, great sound, perfect. I was like, yes. That was kind of like a really big moment for me. I don't know if you know that, but it was.
Well, venue-wise, obviously, you can do a lot of different things here with like the main setup outside in the cool patio area. I guess when brides come here, or couples come here, excuse me.
I know, right? We always say brides, but it's technically two.
Couples, couples.
Two to tango.
With this venue, I guess, what are brides really looking for when they come in?
The easy button.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, a lot of them, truly, they want aesthetic. That's a huge thing for them. The guest experience, like I say, and I think that's probably why we resonate most with those type of couples. But really, they are brides that tend to want a unique experience, something different, something that their guests haven't seen. And so, they love our space. They walk in, they take a look at it. Our whole thing is everything's right here on campus, right?
Absolutely.
You come in night before, you stay upstairs with your bridal team and get your hair and makeup up.
Cool
our upstairs space.
So
it's pretty fun. Yeah. So you stay upstairs, you stay there the night before, hair and makeup gets done, and then you come down here to your glam room, and put your dresses on and stuff down here. And then from there, it's like everything's on campus. We set everything up. If it's our decor in-house, we set it up and we strike it at the end of the night. So at the end of the night, we're like, the whole process, we're like, so we have this at our Something's Borrowed closet. You probably want to just use this, right? Like, you don't need to bring your own candle holders in. You have something similar. And so we really try to keep it in-house so we can manage that process that much more and just allow them the freedom to relax in their day. And the big joke is our brides sometimes will come to us and be like, Amy, I'm stressed because I'm not stressed and I'm supposed to be stressed. So why am I not stressed? I'm like, because we're doing our job.
We're doing it right.
We're doing it right. So I think that kind of sums up what that is. And, the guests come here and we have a very unassuming front, I feel like. Yeah. It's kind of a hidden gem. Like, you walk by, you're like, oh, it just looks like another store on Main Street. And then you walk in, you're like, what the heck? And then you walk out back, you're like, even cooler.
Truth be told,
right?
So my first job here, I pulled up, I was like, okay, what is this? Like, what is this place? I walk in, I'm like, holy moly, this is nice. So I was gonna say, like, with you being the owner and being so integrated and involved, just shows a few things. One, shows how passionate you are about this and like dedicated you are to it. Two, just the amount of, I guess, fluidity and ease that the wedding can flow, since you are the owner involved the entire time. The amount of care is just out of this world compared to a venue that, you know, to each his own, has an owner, but is there for like maybe 10 minutes, then go and does their own thing. It just shows that, like, with here, the control and the care you'll get from you and your staff is just unmatchable, basically, you know.
Thank you for that. Absolutely, I mean, I think we take a lot of time on that. And I tell people, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be at every wedding after this year. You know what I mean? I can't do 100 weddings a year. But what I do want to be is I don't ever want to lose that touch with the couples. I still want to know our couples. I still want to know what makes them some tick and vibe and all of that. And I think that bringing the right employee in that feels just as much passion about our brand as we do is so important. And we are there. We have an incredible staff coming on board this year too, that they feel just as much an allegiance to this brand as I do, and that's so important. And I think that's what makes us different. We're like a family. You know, we have our alumni come back for our taste and toast events, which are really fun events that we hold quarterly. And they're like, we want to come back and experience the magic all over again. Like, it's not just one day that you're a part of our life. I mean, I know about all of our brides and who's having babies, and we keep up with it. And to me, it's important. It's a family. You're joining a family when you book here. And so I think that makes us really different too.
And I guess couples, if they want to like get in contact with them.
Yeah, like, just honestly, we are so transparent on our website. It's one of our big things. So the Collins.co, that's .co, not .com.
Cool.
We have our pricing on there. We have our tour schedule on there. Beautiful. We've got our FAQs. We got photos. We got it all on there, because when you want to know the answer to a question, like, you shouldn't have to email me 50 times to find it. Absolutely. Like, let's just make this process a little bit easier, because it's not exactly easy. So we try to cut out all the crazy communication back and forth beforehand and make you feel confident. When you come in here, I want you to basically be like, I just want to make sure this is exactly what I want to do and sign on the dotted line. And the majority of our couples do feel that way. Cool. So that's our important thing, is being transparent, being honest, and being a part of your family, because one of the biggest days of your life.
Absolutely.
And so
Well, cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Amy. Always fun talking with you.
Love you too. It's always fun.
Can't wait to come back here again.
Yes.